Welcome in. It's Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are going to go over Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft for the Seattle Seahawks, their first and second round selections. And I got to tell you, it is much different than the last mock draft that Mel did. We'll tell you who he's projecting now. I'll tell you this much. Anthony Richardson, not involved this time around. We'll go over the Seahawks selections for the first and second round, plus a trade as well, coming up in just a few moments from right now. Before we do, want to make sure that we get this video out to the masses, to the 12s. And here's what you can do to help us out. If you click the share button, select the Twitter icon, and click post to Twitter, tag me on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live. I'll retweet you. And the first 10 people that share today's video, you are going to get a follow back on Twitter, but I need your help to do so. So go ahead and share today's video. Tag me on Twitter. I'll retweet it, and I'll follow you back, the first 10 people to do so off of today's show. So Mel Kiper did a 2-round mock draft, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of the picks, including the trade, and I'll give you my honest assessment of these picks made by Mel Kiper for Seattle. So let's go ahead and get started with the first pick for Seattle that comes at number 5, and Mel is projecting the Seahawks to take Jalen Carter at number 5 overall. Now, today, on Tuesday, the Seahawks are having a meeting with Jalen Carter and discussing the possibility of taking him at that number 5 spot. And we've seen some teams already take Jalen Carter off their draft board altogether. So with that, with the talent level that Jalen Carter brings to the table, and sliding down to 5 potentially, why Seattle? Here's more from Mel Kiper on the pick. The Seahawks likely would be thrilled with this scenario, as they could get their pick of the defenders in the class. I see Carter, the number 1 prospect on my big board, as the better fit here over Will Anderson Jr., who I've ranked number 3 overall. Seattle can play Carter next to free agent addition Dre'Mont Jones and create one of the NFL's most talented tackle combinations. Carter is visiting with the team on Tuesday. Carter did not have a good pro day, but NFL teams believe he's too talented to pass up. And that's the deal here. I understand that you have the situation of the misdemeanor back in Georgia, but we know he's not going to face jail time. And the pro day did not go good, and he's not visiting with teams outside the top 10, and that's turned some potential teams off. I understand all that. But if this meeting goes well, and the Seahawks like what they see from Jalen Carter and work him out and everything, and they feel like they're in a good spot, then this just makes too much sense. You can't pass up on a player of this caliber and fulfilling a need as well. The numbers from Jalen Carter this past season, 13 games played. Remember, he faced a lot of double teams this year as one of the top players in all of college football, and yet still had 32 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass breakups. We mentioned the number 1 player on Kiper's big board overall, as well as the number 1 defensive tackle, a unanimous All-American at Georgia there, as well as first-team All-SEC, and was a part of not 1 but 2 national titles with the Georgia Bulldogs here in his college career. So let's ask you now, should the Seahawks draft Jalen Carter? This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no. Should Seattle take Jalen Carter or not? Let me know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. So now we move ahead to the 20th selection, the second first-round pick for the Seahawks. That's where we find Myles Murphy, the defensive end out of the University of Clemson. And remember when we started talking draft as the Seahawks season ended in January, there was discussions about Myles Murphy being a potential selection for the Seahawks at 5. So the fact that a guy that you've considered, you've talked about at 5, is available at 20 here is a pretty nice win, I would think, if you could get Myles Murphy there as Kiper is projecting. More on the pick from Mel. I gave Carroll help in the middle of his defensive line with Jalen Carter at pick number 5. So let's move outside and add an end who will help against both the run and pass. Murphy has some upside, though I never saw him dominate on tape. He had 14 sacks in 63 QB pressures over the past 2 seasons. Carroll likes well-rounded defensive ends, and that's Murphy. We'll have more on the potential draft choice of Myles Murphy. Got some statistics I want to show you and tell you about Myles Murphy's background and my opinion on this pick coming up in just a moment. Before we do, though, name a player the Seahawks should draft. Who comes to mind, whether it's a guy we've talked about today like Jalen Carter or Myles Murphy or someone else out there? Let me know in the comments section who you'd like to see the Seahawks draft here in the 2023 NFL Draft. Today's show is sponsored by Z-Biotics. Let's face it, after y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats, I don't bounce back well the next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it most. Drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Give Z-Biotics a try and check this out. It comes in this bottle here, 6-pack, just for you. And you may be wondering, well, how can I get these? Well, here's what you need to do. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. Get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring today's video. Now, as far as I'm concerned, what I like about Myles Murphy, as was mentioned by Mel Kiper there, is that you can kill two birds with one stone effectively here. I hope PETA doesn't come after me for making this comment, but you get what I'm saying here, is that this is a guy in Myles Murphy that is effective in both the run and pass defense, and it's well documented. The Seahawks struggled mightily last year when it came to run defense. So not only are you getting a guy that is very good in run defense, but in pass defense too here, this is a dual threat player. And you get 2 for 1 here with Myles Murphy. A lot of good value with Myles Murphy with this 20th pick. The numbers of what he did in his career. 18.5 sacks in 35 games played. That's what? About a sack every other game? That's incredible. 6 forced fumbles, 36 tackles for loss, 116 tackles. Myles Murphy's a gamer. I could see why he's the number 2 defensive end on Kiper's big board, number 23 player overall, first-team All-ACC selection, took a big step up from last year when he was a second-team All-ACC player. I like Myles Murphy. To me, this makes a lot of sense for Seattle to go with this pick and to take Myles Murphy here with their second first-round pick. We're not done, though. I got another pick that we'll get to here in just a second, and a trade incoming. Before we get to all that, though, should the Seahawks draft Myles Murphy? Do you like the idea of bringing Myles Murphy to Seattle? Let me know in the comment section. Type D for draft, type P for pass. Let me know what you're thinking. Should Seattle draft Myles Murphy or not? D for draft, P for pass. Let me know. So here's our trade alert as the Seahawks go back to the first round with a third first-round pick. As a result, in this trade, according to Mel, the Seahawks give up both of their second-round picks at 37 and 52, and that means that they get to the end of the first round and have no second-round picks, period. And another thing that's worth noting here, by doing this, this means that the Seahawks, when it comes contract-wise, now have another player that's eligible for a fifth-year option. Remember, second-round players on back don't have that fifth-year option scenario. So now you go with 3 players that not only are first-round picks, but also have that fifth-round option available to them if you need. And with that, the Seahawks, why do they trade up? Well, they go quarterback here, according to Mel. Don't go Anthony Richardson in this Mel Kiper mock draft, but instead stay in the SEC and take Hendon Hooker with the 30th pick overall out of the University of Tennessee. Let's hear more from Mel on the selection of why they trade up here and go with Hendon Hooker. His accuracy on deep throws is really good. The downside, he played in a quarterback-friendly offense. Didn't have to go through progressions and is coming off a torn left ACL suffered in November. That's going to be a learning curve in the NFL. Plus, he's already 25 years old, so there are questions about his ceiling. For Seattle, as I mentioned in my previous mock draft, the details of Geno Smith's contract extension show it's only a one-year commitment. The team could easily move on after 1 year in turn to Hooker. Look, I'll say this. Hendon Hooker is a very talented player. He was on track to winning the Heisman Trophy and taking Tennessee to the playoff this year. No denying the talent there. But as Mel mentioned, those three things, 25 years old, 25-year-old rookie that isn't going to be ready to play right away. Granted, you have Geno, so you don't need him to play right away. But still, that's another year that you're paying a guy to sit on your bench, essentially, that's not going to get any younger at 25 years old. Coming off a torn ACL, what's he going to look like off the torn ACL? I don't know. Okay? And then the other factor that was involved there, he played in a Mickey Mouse offense at the University of Tennessee. Granted, Josh Heupel is a very good coach and has done a terrific job with that Tennessee program. But as Mel mentioned, you don't have to go through the progressions. You don't have to do the things that are required of an NFL quarterback that you had to do at Tennessee. So, too many red flags here. Not to mention, I'm giving up my 2 second-round picks as well at 37, and then the other pick in the 50s there. To me, that's too much. I can't do that for the red flags that are there with Hooker. Look, I get it. He was very good. Not denying the talent level at all. Near 70% completion percentage, 32 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2021, he was silent as well. 36 touchdowns, 3 picks, nearly 3,000 passing yards. This is not about the talent level of Hendon Hooker. It's the other factors that are alarming here. He's the number 5 quarterback on Mel's big board, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-SEC. All of that is good, okay? But it's those other factors for me that say, no thanks. I'm not trading up and giving assets away to make this move for Hendon Hooker. I'm out personally. I think Seattle has other things they can take care of. And then not to mention, too, next year, what have we talked about a lot on this show? Next year's draft with Caleb Williams available and Drake May, there's better quarterbacks next year. You don't have to get a quarterback now. So I'm out on the idea of drafting Hendon Hooker. What say you? Do you agree with me in this statement as we wrap up today's show? Seattle should not trade up for Hendon Hooker. That's a fact, Jack. Type fact if you agree with that. If you disagree, type fiction. Go all caps. Hammer that all caps button and let me know. Fact or fiction, should Seattle trade up for Hendon Hooker? I think they should not. That's a fact. If you disagree, type fiction. Let me know in the comment section below. Hit me up on social media. Share today's video as well. Tag me on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live. Also on Instagram and Facebook as well. You can find me there. I'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.